Nearly halfway through the school year, the Nampa School District budget still faces a $4.3 million deficit. Everyone's trying to figure out what exactly happened in the district's accounting department.
And now, new information we are finding may be helping us understand the mismanagement of funds that may have led them to their current budget crisis. We have uncovered numerous public documents that raise questions about accounting practices for federally funded programs. Questions that we're still waiting for answers from the Nampa School District. Tina Jensen has this exclusive On Your Side investigation.
In the midst of the budget crisis, audits suggest and a whistleblower lawsuit alleges there's a lack of oversight for how the district is using federal funds. District officials, including Deputy Superintendent Josh Jensen, refused to be interviewed for this story. And now a budget committee is thinking about asking you for more money to fix the financial crisis. Sources say the Nampa School District's financial office has a history of taking money out of food service funds without providing details for the transfers. The federal food service dollars come from the USDA and can only be used for the food service program. Here are some of the numbers the district's not explaining. The past 5 years show dramatic changes in yearly fund balances in the federally funded lunch program. They range from significant deficits in 2008 to large balances the past 2 years. During those same 2 years, external audits by Ripley Dorn show findings that the district's not adequately monitoring federal awards programs.
One of the deficiencies that was identified by the auditor was that they needed to hire an internal auditor. That has not yet been done.
Christine Edwards was a budget specialist at the district in 2006. Edwards says federal fund allocation was a concern back then, and she brought those concerns to Josh Jensen, now Deputy Superintendent.
Both nutrition services and maintenance were a concern. There were concerns that there were vendors that were being paid that were not valid vendors, there were false purchase orders that were being issued, things of that nature.
She recently wrote a letter to the school board saying she alerted them to problematic accounting practices back then. I asked Josh Jensen about the letter in a story I did in October.
The former employee did write a letter, and again, I don't think the contents of that letter really contribute to where we're at today.
I was mad when I listened to that interview because everything that we addressed with Josh Jensen back in 2006 is directly related to where the district is at today. And had Josh listened to us back in 2006, my guess is they would not be in the world of hurts they're in right now.
I don't think anybody has any idea what's going on in the district, let alone the food and nutrition department. They pretty much have carte blanche to do what they want, and they've done that.
Todd Young was an employee in nutrition services last year when he had concerns about how the district was spending tax dollars, specifically with styrofoam lunch trays. He says he was fired after the district suspected he tipped our station on that story. A whistleblower lawsuit is about to be filed against the district.
And because of the mismanagement, and you have too many chiefs, and with no one watching them, they just do whatever. If there's a mistake made, there's no accountability.
The nutrition department's funds also got the attention of the state, which flagged a lack of oversight for spending in the nutrition program. The audit indicates the head of the nutrition department, Sheila Keim, doesn't receive any details of charges in the nutrition program, but should be receiving detailed backup documentation. Danielle Sasek also had concerns about whether federal dollars were spent correctly. She was an accountant with the district and says she was fired when she spoke up. Her whistleblower and wrongful termination lawsuit filed this year alleges that, quote, raises for accounting supervisor Diane Rotten, payroll supervisor Lynn Wheeler, deputy superintendent Josh Jensen, and finance officer Dennis Clegg were made possible by overcharging the federally funded nutrition services and special education programs. The suit also alleges that accounting supervisor Diane Rotten had, quote, sole and full control of banking accounts, including all transfers out of and into the accounts. It also alleges that arrangement had the potential to conceal fraud or embezzlement. Ultimately, the district is left with a projected multi-million-dollar deficit, and the Budget Committee says the answer may be asking taxpayers for more money.
The pros of that are that the deficit is corrected. The cons are that it's a tax increase.
At the least, the public documents point to poor accounting practices which could be illegal and jeopardize future federal funding. If there's any misappropriation of funds in a federal program, penalties could result in fines and possible jail time. Deputy Superintendent Josh Jensen refused an interview with me after our first stories aired. So did Accounting Supervisor Diane Rotten and School Board Trustee Scott Keto. We'll continue following this story for you. Live in the studio, Tina Jensen, Today 6 on your side.
We know there's a lot of information here, so we want to review some of the events that we have covered just this year leading up to where the Nampa School District is today. So back in March, a former accountant filed a whistleblower lawsuit saying she was fired after reporting her concerns about possible accounting fraud. That same month, voters turned down a 2-year, $7 million levy. Then in June, the district ended the school year with a $4 million budget deficit. In August, the district said it discovered more budgeting errors that would lead to another $2.8 million shortfall at the end of the school year. That same month, Nampa voters approved a 2-year, $3.2 million levy. Then remember, September 24th, Superintendent Gary Larson resigns. September 28th, the district announced the shortfall would now be at least $4.3 million. You can see all of our stories investigating the Nampa School District by heading to our website. Just look for Hot Topics at the top of the page at Idaho on your side.
Well, the Nampa